The British government is blaming Russia for the poisoning of former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in the British town of Salisbury. The two remain in critical condition after ingesting what the British government says is a military-grade nerve agent made by Russia. The British government demanded that Russia offer an explanation, but then rejected a Russian request to share a sample of the nerve agent that was used in the poisoning.
There is no alternative conclusion other than that the Russian state was culpable for the attempted murder of Mr. Skripal and his daughter. This represents an unlawful use of force by the Russian state against the United Kingdom. And as I set out on Monday, it has taken place against the backdrop of a well-established pattern of Russian state aggression across Europe and beyond.
As part of the measures against Russia, May announced the expulsion of 23 Russian diplomats, the single biggest such expulsion in 3 decades. That drew a response from Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, who pressed May to hand over evidence.
Our response as a country must be guided by the rule of law, support for international agreements, and respect for human rights. So when it comes to the use of chemical weapons on British soil, it is essential that the government works with the United Nations to strengthen its chemical weapons monitoring system and involves the Office of the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. The Prime Minister said on Monday, either this was a direct act by the Russian state or the Russian government lost control of their potentially catastrophically damaging nerve agent and allowed it to get in the hands of others. Our response must be both decisive and proportionate and based on clear evidence. If the government believes that it is still a possibility that Russia negligently lost control of a military-grade nerve agent, what action is being taken through the OPCW with our allies? I welcome the fact the police are working with the OPCW. And has the Prime Minister taken the necessary steps under the Chemical Weapons Convention to make a formal request for evidence from the Russian government under Article 9.2? How has she responded to the Russian government's request for a sample of the agent used in the Salisbury attack to run its own tests? Has high-resolution trace analysis been run on a sample of the nerve agent, and has that revealed any evidence as to the location of its production or the identity of its perpetrators? And can the Prime Minister update the House on what conversations, if any, she has had with the Russian government? And while suspending planned high-level contacts, does the Prime Minister agree that it is essential to maintain a robust dialogue with Russia?
My first reaction, having listened to the clip you played by Jeremy Corbyn, is that's one very courageous man. It's not clear even his own Labour Party supports what he said. And the essence of what he said is Theresa May has no evidence, and yet she's prepared to ratchet up already a bad relationship with Russia based on this. They haven't produced any evidence, let's put it like that. There has been such a demonization of the Kremlin leader, Putin, unlike anything that was the case during the old Cold War with Kremlin communist leaders. And along with it, a kind of Russophobic attack on Russia itself. The old Cold War was about communism. This one seems to be about Russia, just in general. And then you get this lightning speed of news, as with this nerve agent, with people weighing in without any authority or any knowledge very, very quickly. And it's spreading before anybody has time to reflect and think, and actual expert opinion come to the fore. Theresa May is perhaps among the weakest prime ministers in modern history. She's holding on for dear life. Jeremy Corbyn is an extraordinary figure. His party, his Labour Party, which is not very good on Russia-related issues either, didn't approve of what he said. But he said the right thing. He said there's no evidence. While we search for evidence, we need to continue a robust dialogue with Russia. That's exactly right. And, you know, whether he'll prevail or not, I don't know. But it is interesting, isn't it, that unlike in the United States, the leader of the opposition, which is what Corbyn is, and potentially a prime minister, is setting himself against this reckless Cold War behavior on the part of the British government. All I can say is I wish we had such a person in American high politics.